Hey everybody, Jason here. On my way home from work. It's raining out. It's a little bit chilly, not too bad. Upper 50s maybe. Which isn't bad for Halloween time in Ohio. Anyway, so I uploaded a video the other day about the Dallas RPG that I got. It was like an unboxing video, like kind of like a first look kind of deal. So I read over the actual rules are good job, buddy. The actual rules are only about 4 pages long, which is a little weird. So I don't know if this game is going to do either of the two things that I want it to do. Then I'll tell you what those things are. I wanted to run a game based on the politics of Menzoberranzan, and watch out, lady, I can't see. People don't know how to drive. The politics of Menzoberranzan, or a game set in the world of Sons of Anarchy. So Sons of Anarchy actually might be kind of doable. Well, here's the thing. Actually, both things might be doable, but not in the way that I originally wanted. Because this game, while a role-playing game, and I use that term both in quotes and lightly, is sort of a competitive game. There are winners in the game, and you score like victory points and things like that. So it's not just a role-playing game. It's really more of a these people do not know how to drive. This guy is in 2 lanes and he's stopped because he wants to turn left. Asshole. Anyway, and he doesn't have his lights on and it's raining. Anyway, so there's victory points in the game. It's kind of competitive. Rather than a true role-playing game, it's really more of a almost like a bargaining kind of game. Like, you want to take control. It's like a dealing game. You want to take control of certain things like properties or people or things like that. And to do those things, you make barters and deals with other players who control other things. So it's like you earn points based on certain things. Like, there's parameters set up to tell you what you have to do to earn these victory points. So say Cliff Barnes needs to own the FBI or have the FBI in his pocket. Basically, it's owned, but it's like, have the FBI in their pocket, or control some ranch or something or other, and then have another, like the cards I showed in that video. He has to basically take possession of a few of those cards, which each of the cards is a different thing, like having the FBI in your pocket, owning the the local police force, having them on the take, like things like that, or owning a ranch, or getting the deed to an oil company or something. And so, excuse me, each player will start out having certain things. So in order to get those other things, you have to make deals with other players. So if you have something somebody else wants, you guys can make a deal and you can trade and switch out. And if you want something that somebody doesn't want to give you, you can use your abilities, like say your persuasion versus your active persuasion versus their resistance to persuasion. Compare the two numbers. Whatever's left over is like your spread, and then you roll your dice. If you roll that spread or under, it's successful, and you can get what you want. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's the basics of it. It's a very simple system. It's kind of cool, and how easy it is. But it's really more of a competitive type role-playing game, and that's really not what I was looking for, I guess. I don't regret the purchase. I think it's fantastic. I love the fact that I love that I got it. It's a great addition to my collection, and I think the system's fascinating, and it's probably very, very hackable, actually. So it might be possible. So if you were, let me go back for a second. It might be possible to hack that system into making it like victory points and winning and stuff. And it also, if you were to use the GM's guide, which is the script writer's guide, you could write fictional scripts and stories and lay down parameters. Like if you wanted to write out like an episode of Sons of Anarchy, and you would have to create character sheets for all the characters in the show and create resistances for them and active abilities and scores and stuff. Let this guy go. You could do that, and it probably wouldn't be too hard, but you'd have to write scripts for the show, like an episode, which could be very, very interesting used in a non-Dallas setting. I mean, if you were to go back into those old days, you could do Dynasty or Falcon Crest or something like that, and probably, because all those shows run at the same time, and you could probably create episodes of those shows, because they're probably, I don't want to say they're similar, but a lot of the shows at that time, like all those shows, kind of had the same drama and stuff. But you could probably do, if you were okay doing each episode script to have a finite ending, like if you actually would script out the show and you would have victory points set for your characters. Like you could create a house in Menzo Berenzin, okay? You could create you know, I wouldn't say House Benray, but you could do House Benray, I guess, if you wanted. Or someone, you could create your own drow house, a noble house or a minor house or something like that. And you could create characters. That was weird. I thought I heard somebody yelling. You could create characters for it using the templates of the characters from the current game, the Dallas TV game, like Cliff Barnes and Bobby Ewing and Pam Ewing and all them people. And you could have basically that Dallas TV game just set in Menzo Berenzin or the Underdark or even the city of Waterdeep or something. You could do that. It would just be reskinning the flavor text of the game to fit a different fantasy setting, fictional setting, rather than the Dallas TV show. You'd still have victory points. You'd still have victory conditions to earn those points and things like that, which could actually be very interesting. That could be a really cool idea, rather than trying to hack it and create a system that doesn't involve victory points or winners and stuff like that. There's not really a loser at the game per se. It's just whoever has the most victory points at the end wins that episode, I guess. Which you could connect all the episodes together and make a season out of it, and then whoever in the last episode of the season, like say a TV show is 22 episodes long for a season, for example. You could play 22 sessions, or, you know, like Arrow, the TV show. Oh, not Arrow, Sons of Anarchy. I think every season was 13 episodes long. So you could do, say, 12 episodes and make it a one-year campaign if you played once a month, for example. Just an example. And then your season one, whoever had the most victory points at the end could be the winning player or whatever. Things like that. But I think reskinning the Dallas IP off of it and putting on a different IP or your own fantasy setting could be very, very interesting and could probably be pretty easy to do. One thing you would probably have to do, though, is somehow mechanically put in another skill like persuasion, coercion, seduction. Those are a lot of social skills, which are fantastic because most games don't have the focus of those that this does. What this doesn't have, the other role-playing games do have, is a focus on combat. There's not really any combat skills. So you could probably pretty easily create a skill that functions just like coercion, persuasion, all that stuff, but make it combat. And make it to where if somebody suffers X amount of wounds or whatever, they're out of the scene. They go unconscious and they're out of the scene. If they suffer X amount of wounds in an episode, they could die. You know what I mean? Something like that. So that's probably pretty hackable, and I just have some really good ideas for this Dallas game, and I think there could be a lot of really cool things to do with this, and this could be like the sleeper hit game of the year for me, even though it came out 39 years ago. I just can't get that out of my head. 39 years. The game is 39 years old, man. And it's cool as shit. It's a really, really great idea. Like I said, the rules are only 4 pages long. So you could probably, or I could probably, very easily take a day on my day off or something and transcribe the rules onto a Word document and print them out for all the players to have an electronic copy of it. I don't think SPI is going to come after me for any sort of copyright infringement or whatever for doing something like that. And not like I'm going to sell it or anything like that. Besides, anybody who wants to buy the game can get it pretty readily online. I'm surprised at how easily this game can be obtained online, and how cheap, 20 or 30 bucks tops to get this game, and it's worth every penny. I was lucky enough, like I said, to get the sealed copy of it, so that I knew all the parts inside were in good condition and complete, But the components of the game are so few that you saw what I unboxed. If you're watching this video, you probably watched the last one. But you saw what I unboxed. There's not a lot of components to the game. A bunch of character sheets, a rules booklet, and a scriptwriter's guide, and then some cards. I think 56 cards or something like that. So it's a small game as far as the components. It's a very rules-light game in terms of the text for how many rules there are, like 4 pages. And the only problem is, I don't know how this game would be played. I would love to see an actual play of this game, which I probably never will unless I do it myself. But this is really interesting. It almost is like such a social experiment in role-playing games that it might be kind of weird at first, because it's not really just a role-playing. Like I said, it's got more of an actual gaming element to it, because there's victory points and winners and stuff. But man, very, very interesting. I've got my hands full with a number of projects that I'm working on, with very little time to work on any of them. My 1-hour fantasy game that I've been working on is pretty close to being in the playtest phase. I've got other one-shots I'm working on, prepping for my 5e game that's going to be starting in a couple months after Rise of Tiamat is finished. And some other things. I've got a Star Wars D6 one-shot I'm working on. I'm trying to decide if I want to run it through Edge of the Empire or Star Wars D6. I would love to do it under Edge of the Empire. The problem is getting my players to create characters. It's not a hard game by any means, but character creation, especially if you've never done it before, can take a long fucking time. Upwards of an hour or two per player. So I guess what I could do is I could create a bunch of players characters and hand those out. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. You could probably reskin this Dallas game and put it in like any IP that involves social interaction and not be combat focused. If you were to change the structure of the game and make it combat focused, I don't think it would hold up very well. You're better off playing a more traditional RPG in that regard. But if you're looking to play a game that is either all or mostly social combat, things like that, this might do you really, 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 really good. I could see reskinning this to say something like Game of Thrones, where if you were to create that combat element of it, man, you would want to avoid combat at all costs, because you can make the combat element super fucking deadly to where any character could die anytime, just like on the show or in the books or whatever. That would be probably very easy to do. The problem there is you've got so many characters and such a history and this and that. It's just, that would be pretty hard to do, I think. Now, if I remember correctly, I saw another video the other day about this Dallas game that somebody else had recorded and done a way better, more in-depth review of it than I've done today. And I can't remember the guy's name. I wish I did. He's got long hair. He's got a goatee like me, except his is longer, and a long mustache, and wears glasses. Really thorough interview. This dude makes good videos. I like him. I can't remember the guy's name. Just type in Dallas television role-playing game review, and it will probably be, other than maybe my video, the only video that pops up for this, because I don't think anybody else has ever done it. Search that and watch his video, because it's going to be better than what I just told you about the game. It's definitely more in-depth. It's like 10 or 11 minutes long, and it's really good. But I think if you were going, I lost my train of thought. If you're wanting to do something like that, where it's mainly social conflict and social encounters, and you don't mind the idea of victory points and things like that, and you might even be able to, anyway, if you like that idea, Dallas could be the game for you. What I was saying was, if you maybe take the idea or the concept or rule and mechanics of victory points off of the rules and make it to where a game will be over. No, wait, let me rephrase that. You could make it to where, like, your goal for your character is to do a certain thing. And once that's accomplished, you can gain a victory point. Rather than writing a script, you can make it to where your goal is something, and you have a goal or 2 goals or 3 goals, and once you accomplish one of those goals, you can make it to where, like, you have 3 goals. This one's worth 1 point, this one's worth 2 points, this one's worth 3 points. And if you can accomplish those goals, and you have to set up with the GM to agree, like, oh, this is super easy, there's no way you could get 3 points out of it, you might be able to get 1. You could cross it off your list and create it, work with your GM, come up with another one, and at the end of, you can keep working towards those goals. And if something happens to where that goal is reversed down the line, you keep a list of them, like a character list or a tracking list, a character sheet of what you've accomplished throughout this season. If any of those things are nullified or taken away by what other players are doing, or something of your own doing, even by accident, you can take those points off, or work with the GM to say, well, you accomplished it and it's reverted, maybe you're only going to get 1 point out of it, because at least you accomplished it. Something like that, where at the end of your season of playing, you add up all your points and see whoever has the most points at the end of a season, which is like, say, 12, like our example was 12 sessions of play. Whoever has the most can take, like, say you have 4 players, you can take a skill or something and up it by 2 points, and everybody else who plays, or no, that's kind of a dumb idea. Maybe you can set tiers, like if you earn X amount of victory points, you can raise a skill by 1. if you're in earn this amount of experience points or victory points, you could raise 2 skills by 1. Or if you're in the bottom tier or whatever, you might have to lower a skill by 1 point, you know, or whatever, something like that. Or, you know, you could trade your victory points in for something like standing with your house, your noble house, or something to that effect. You can trade your victory points in for either standing or prestige or favors from other characters or NPCs, or you could raise stats or skills, gain new powers or spells. There's, I think, trading victory points in and spending them like experience points, like in Vampire the Masquerade or Star Wars or something like that, could be a good option. That could be a good option too. I just think that there's a lot that can be done with this Dallas game. I think there's a huge potential to kind of change or shift over the way we look at certain games or the way we play certain games, or have a focus, a different focus, rather than just leveling up and rolling dice to kill stuff and moving miniatures around on a map, you know, things like that. You can make combat take a back seat compared to most role-playing games and focus on social conflict or things like that, and tell a good story rather than just leveling up and getting more powers and abilities and skills and all that stuff, more treasure, you know, whatever. Anyway, I've ranted about this Dallas game for like 20 minutes now. It may not be the last time that I do that, because I'm really digging this game. It's definitely one of my favorite purchases I've made in a long time. And I just think there's a lot of shit you can do with it, man. There's a lot of good stuff you can do with it. So, you might even be able to be playing it. You might even be able to play it solo, too. Shit, I never thought about that. All right, anyway, I'm almost home. I'm gonna get off here, and hopefully I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks for listening to my ranting, and thanks for checking out my channel and watching and subscribing. And hope you guys play some good games. Hope you guys are having fun. Enjoy Halloween. Be safe. And we will talk to you guys soon. Peace.